Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Relatively Damaged Live. My name is Angela, and next to me, this way.
Is
Yes,
Kat.
this way. The live shows are currently streamed on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter. We would love your follow and subscribe. Kat has her show, Breaking the Lens of Bias. I have my show, Relatively Damaged Podcast. And so we would love your support. On the Monday segments of the show, Kat and I discuss topics we find interesting for about 30 minutes. Today's topic is how come everyone says it's important to be grateful? And yes, I said it that way for a reason. Because for me, I think that sometimes that's what it feels like, especially when things are hard. Oh, just be grateful. It's like it's kind of become a platitude.
Yeah, I mean we even have a holiday for it, which is like that. But what has that turned into? You know, basically engorge yourself on food and maybe watch football.
True. So, are we grateful in that moment? Are we grateful for the family? Are we grateful for the connections? I mean, some of us are not, right? If we have struggles with family, or maybe someone in the family struggles with addiction, or is very codependent and controlling, or there's a people pleaser, are there how could we, I don't want to say are there because it's like a yes or no question, but how could we be grateful for
Well,
those things?
yeah, and I'd even back that up and say that kind of answers goes back to our question. Well, everyone says it's important to be grateful, and I think that's why I think it is important to be grateful. But in the spirit, of it.
Mm-hmm.
You and I talk a lot about gratitude, and um, sometimes it helps to reflect on what you're ungrateful for. Yeah, I'm ungrateful that that relative who drinks too much is going to be there, or the relative with the distasteful politics is going to be there, and I got to hear, you know, Uncle Sam's diatribe on politics. Um, but that may all be true, but the spirit for me of Thanksgiving is of gratitude, and what do you really give thanks for? And I love the tradition that we share, is where we go around the table and everybody's saying one thing that we're grateful for, and it's beautiful. um, because if I mean, I can say many things I'm grateful for, but being able to sit there and actually think about the gratefulness, it gets you out of that negativity, and I think that's why it's important to be grateful. If you're so focused on what you're ungrateful for, what you dislike, what you judge, that's what.
Mm.
But if you're in that,
That's easy, though, right? That's
oh,
easy.
you know, that's the kind of the case of for so many holiday movies or surrounding Thanksgiving, is the difficulties regarding getting together with family, and all those things that we have to overcome. As opposed to, it would be kind of a maybe a boring movie if everybody just talked about and demonstrated all the things that they're grateful for.
Well, there wouldn't be any adventure, though, right? And
There wouldn't be any change.
yeah, there wouldn't be any change. There wouldn't be any growth. So now when I think about it that way, maybe it's a little easier to be grateful for the holidays with the family. I mean, I remember last year, just a funny story. So Dr. Fred Blum had challenged us to just be surprised and love whatever showed up on Thanksgiving, whatever it looked like, whatever the experience was, whatever. And we were having family over, and my sister always helps me cook the turkey, because that's something I enjoy doing, is participating in the whole celebration. And I don't know, I love the kitchen, and I love good food. And anyway, so I want to say it was like 30 minutes after we put the turkey in. I'm like, I don't think we put water in the bottom of the pan. Well, we didn't. She was sure there was plenty of water. We didn't, but we didn't. She said, "No, I'm sure we did." We didn't check it, right? I didn't say, "Well, I think maybe we should check it." But, I think we put 2 pounds of butter on the turkey that, so, so when we pulled the turkey out, there was like this caked on stuff at the bottom of the pan, and then there was all this butter, and all these seasonings and everything had dripped down into the pan, and but there was still that layer of icky stuff. And I was like, oh, I don't know how this is going to turn out, but let's go ahead and try and make gravy. So so we just kept going as if we just kept going as if everything was going to be fine, and we were just happy and enjoying the funny things that were happening. This turkey was so juicy and perfect, and the gravy turned out amazing. Like, we just were so surprised and happy. But all day we had been doing things that there were other things that we were just like, "Oh, well, that's another thing to be happy and surprised about, even if it went wrong." Or what we thought was wrong.
Well, it's yeah, that's so. I mean, I've heard you tell that story before, and I love that story because it's illustrative. You think it's supposed to be A B C D E, and it didn't quite turn out that way, but it still was great. At my church we had a friendsgiving dinner this week, and everybody. I get there. I was one of the early people to help set up, and there were only two of us there to set up, and it was a lot of work. And then other people started coming in and helping to set up and get the food together and everything. And people were all kind of on edge. What's going on? The guy who was bringing the turkey and the ham, he was running late, and we're like, oh my gosh, we're getting ready. People are starting to come in, and we're still not ready yet. And everybody was just kind of a little bit on edge. Uh, but I was just like, you know what? It was gonna be okay. And we got everything done. So we started a few minutes late.
Yeah.
It was okay. And then we sat around at the tables. We met a lot of new friends. The meal was phenomenal. There was so much food, and everybody enjoyed it and had a wonderful time.
Hmm.
And then and it was just one of those things. Like it wasn't going as everyone expected it to go. There were bumps and there were rough patches, and people were a little edgy, but it all worked out.
Yeah, that's the thing. We living in this world where I believe everything needs, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, that, or 1, 2, 3, 4, and that we have to do it in a particular order. And I think for me, for a long time, I really lived in this world of predictability. And if it didn't happen the way I predicted it was going to happen, then I couldn't be grateful, right? I couldn't just love what was or what came up. I would be upset because it didn't go the way I thought it was supposed to go. So I think what happens, at least for me, is when I look at how will I be surprised today, is it helps me to live in the I don't know world for both the good and the bad, or the things I like and the things I don't like, so that I can see it helps me to easier to, I don't know if that's the right word. It just helps me to live with being okay that things aren't going to plan. And maybe that's by divine design. Maybe it helps me in a way I don't think I'd ever thought, like, um, It's like saying, well, this task should only take so long, and then beating myself up because it took longer. Well, how do I know it wasn't supposed to take longer?
Mm.
Uh, yeah.
Yeah, it's, and that's where it's grateful. It's gratitude in the moment of
Mm-hmm.
living where you have to, where you have to be, and what's going to happen, and being, not having the expectation of what something's going to be, but just letting it be what it's going to be, and to
Mm.
be grateful for that. I um, I used to do triathlons, and maybe I'll do it again. I don't know. We'll see. But I remember the first triathlon that I ever did. I trained really hard for it, and I was like, "Oh, this is going to be great." And it was like a 5 lap thing around this neighborhood, and a tire blew on my bike, and I hadn't changed a tire before. I found someone to help me. We got the tire changed, uh, and but it took me like a half an hour to change the tire. Um, but it didn't matter. I went and I finished the bike ride, and then I went and I did the run, and I was off my rhythm and everything like that. But I was just like, you know what? I'm going to enjoy the experience, and I came in last.
Mm.
Care because I finished it. I did it. It was not what it was supposed to be by any stretch of the means, but it was what it was, and that I was able to do that, and not only do something that I'd never done before,
Mm-hmm.
but to do it under not ideal circumstances and still overcome that. Because I could have easily said, well, to hell with this, and walked my bike all the way back and just said, I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted to finish it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
the idea is that you don't know what's going to happen. You can have an reasonable expectation, but you never know what's going to happen. And so living in that moment and being able to be grateful for that moment, whatever it is, be it what we may perceive to be good or bad, and still have gratitude is huge.
Yeah.
Whether it be
Well,
a race or whether it be a turkey.
right. And I think that in order to have the full human experience, it's all of these emotions, right? It's the good, the bad, the frustration, the anger. Sometimes it's how can I be grateful that I'm angry right now? And sometimes it's because it gives me the energy to get something done. There's a lot of energy in frustration and anger. Um, and we can use that to our advantage, I think. How can I be grateful that we've got to make a repair outside? Oh, well, you know what? Now I can be grateful because I've got to reach out to some friends of mine, which maybe I haven't talked to in a little while, and it would be really great to catch up. And I definitely can't do it on my own. Now I get to connect. It's like Marshall B. Rosenberg in his book Nonviolent Communication talks about being Santa Claus asking for sugar. When you go over to ask for sugar, ho, 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 may I have some sugar? Because you're giving the gift of receiving. And, so how can we be grateful for maybe those moments that it seems like we shouldn't be grateful for, right? Like, oh, this is horrible, this turned out horrible. Well, I'm going to be grateful. Like, let's say the turkey hadn't have gone well last year, and it didn't. I mean, it was actually the best turkey we'd ever had, which is really funny to me. But let's say it hadn't gone well. I could have been grateful that we had other food in the house that we could have eaten,
Mm,
because how many people wouldn't have had that option, right?
hmm.
I could be grateful that it didn't go perfect, because if it went perfect, then it would have been predictable, and wouldn't that have been boring? It's true, right? I think that's why you laugh. Wouldn't that be boring if it went to plan?
And well, and also, what's really funny about that kind of thing is how much energy do we put into trying to make things perfect?
Oh, I know I used to put a lot of energy into perfection.
I look at weddings. I for one hate weddings. Not that I hate the idea of weddings. I hate what they've become in our society, which is a big
Mhm.
pageant and a show, and everything has to go perfect. The best weddings I've been to, where I've enjoyed myself the most, are the ones where the bride and groom enjoyed themselves the most because they were relaxed and they were like, whatever happens, happens. We're here to have fun. We're here to celebrate.
Yeah.
We're not here to put on a show and have everything be perfect.
Yeah. Well, and just getting to our question, how come everyone says it's important to be grateful? Think about what happens inside of us when we can be grateful, right? It shifts us into regulation. It shifts us into regulating emotions like love, peace, joy, even when things are going horribly, right?
Mm.
If I can shift that, then I'm we're really physically even better off.
Right. Um, well, and that's why in the wedding example, everybody who's so tense about everything, they're not enjoying it. All these people are here to celebrate, and they're worried about the flowers being done, or the flower girl spilled something on her dress. Oh my God, we can't take pictures now. Instead of saying, you know what, we're here to enjoy the celebration. And oh, isn't that cute? The little flower girls being a little kid and doing what little kids do, which is spilling things. Just
Yeah.
you know, in that moment, just enjoying what is instead of saying, well, it's not the way it should be. Oh my God, you know, because a wedding is a celebration and so many things to be grateful for.
Well, what a great story is what I'm thinking, you know? But, another trick, if not feeling grateful, because I mean, I think we're talking about this really so that you guys might have some tools to get to gratitude during this week of family and different things like that, or pressure of having a perfect meal or whatever, is to kind of step into that space of awe and wonder. For instance, even on this video right now, I'm wow, this is amazing. We're on video. Kat and I live many, many, many miles apart. I don't know how many.
2000.
How many?
About 2000.
Okay, 2,000 miles apart. We're able to have that's wow. That someone created this system where we can click a button and be online talking to each other and sharing with publicly with the rest of the world. That's awe. That's a lot of awe for me. I have no idea how this program works. I just know what button I need to push to go live. And that's. So what happens if I take that into the day? Is aunt whoever or uncle whoever or mom or dad or brother or sister, is somebody going to get drunk and stupid this time? I have no idea. It's going to be a surprise. Do I know that if somebody um, hasn't done that before, guess what? It's possible they might do it this time. So if I can look at it from, I'm going to be surprised and I'm just going to be happy with whatever comes up, even if it's, well, you know what? This is no longer a safe environment. I need to leave. And then how can I be grateful for that? Well, maybe I would be grateful for the safety that, I had for me because I can't drive, that I had someone with me that could help me leave. Um, Maybe it would be, I'm just throwing out different ideas of how we can be grateful from that perspective of maybe it's really hard to be grateful about this right now. what positives can I find in it? What are the good things that I can see? Because when I live in the other place of I'm not being grateful, I'm also living in the place of being a victim, and I'm being a victim to what's happening, right? For instance, I don't know if you guys heard one of my daughters come in, said, "Mom, we're in the middle of a live." She knows this. I told her. And then she slammed the door.
I heard the door slam. I didn't
Yeah.
hear
Yeah.
her, but
So, can I be grateful? I can be grateful that my daughter wants to talk to me, and I can be grateful that I'm talking to Kat and to everyone else here online. And I can also be sad. It's not either or. I can be sad that I can't talk to her, that I'm in the middle of this, and I'm choosing to stay on this, which I'm grateful that I have that choice. And I'm sad because, man, she must really need me if she's going to slam the door, you know? Like, I, so that's what I'm saying. I mean, sometimes it's really hard to be grateful. I love doing these podcasts with you, and sometimes I get embarrassed at, if you can hear the kids yelling or whatever, and then I go, you know what? That's life. That's the thing about having these computers in our homes and this online world after COVID, is that we can connect like this, whereas before it was not as easy. And I'm going to be grateful for that too.
hmm we would have never met had it not been for online.
That's true.
Yeah, because we've never met in person,
No, we have not.
and that's okay. Uh, and it's beautiful because we have a beautiful friendship that would have never happened had it not been for that technology. So there's good, like you say, there's good and bad in everything, and it's how we choose to look at it and how we choose to prioritize it.
Mm-hmm.
Right,
Mm-hmm.
I think, um, and it's really bottom line. It's about perspective. You know, talking about different things and being able to say, well, okay, uh, what are you going to do for that, or how's that going for you? Uh, um, one of the questions, and we've talked about this many times, and I've talked about this with other people. I'm so angry at something. Okay, I hear that you're angry. What are you going to do about it?
Mm-hmm.
And in that asking, what are you going to do about it? It's saying, okay, I'm assuming you're angry. You don't want to be angry. What are you going to do about it? What is the shift that you're going to do? Address the problem, make a shift in attitude about it. Ask yourself the questions. How important is it?
Yeah. And sometimes for me,
True. Yeah.
I have to like let it go like a wave through me. I've got
Mhm.
to just feel it before I can even get to that point of asking questions, especially if I'm angry. And there was a really great Brian Fretwell in 2020. I think it's one of his posts on TikTok. Did a thing about emotion as he's stepping into a cold river or pond or something like that, to give the example of what if the emotion comes and you don't have to do anything about it, you just let it. And he's talking as he's getting into this he's like a polar bear thing, and he's talking about emotion and letting that emotion just flow through and not having to do anything about it. And I thought, what a fantastic example of just letting that emotion go like a wave through us, just breathe through it, accept that that's emotion, and wait for it to pass, because that's when we'll get our wise mind back, right? We'll be able to think. When that emotion is at its height, there's no thinking that's going to happen. So I think for me, sometimes it's being grateful that I know to let that emotion come through, and then to be grateful that I know that. And then, what can I be grateful for? Sometimes it's at that tail end.
Right. And that's, I think that's the important thing, is to let it go through. Because if you don't let it go through and you stay there, if you stay in the anger, in the you know judgment of whatever, sadness, depression, you stay in that space and you don't let it go through, you're going to stay there in that. So I think, in a sense, we're talking about the same kind of things. For me, the asking the questions is the tool. Yes, I'm
Mm-hmm.
angry. What am I going to do about it?
Yeah.
Is for me, is to help me let it pass through.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and it's the whole practice of gratitude. I mean, we do a meditation regularly, and if you're interested, please contact us. It's at uh, I'm going to say my time, 9:15 Central Time. So figure it out from there.
7:15 Pacific.
On Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays, and it's a gratitude meditation, and we sometimes do different things, but it always comes back to gratitude, and being able to start my day in that place of gratitude, really sets me on the right path for the day. It
Mm-hmm.
makes it a lot easier to when some challenges come up, to go through them,
Mm.
or let the emotions surrounding it go through me, and then say, what am I going to do about it? And if I'm
Mm-hmm.
in a state of gratitude already, it's a lot easier to let that go through and to remain in that state of gratitude than if I wake up and I'm like, this is going to be a bad day.
Yeah, that's always hard. I have learned to start I do a couple of different meditations in the morning, and I start the process before I even get out of bed, so that
As
you
do I.
know yeah, it's because for me it's just that important for me to be able to sit in that place of gratitude, because once you find it, it's really helpful, especially for those challenging things that don't go well. And remembering that we're magnificent, that the things around us are magnificent, that when I look around even just my bedroom or my home, that I am not alone. I never did any of this alone. I've had to buy it. How many people have touched the things that I have in my home before they even got here? When I can be grateful for those things. And I think a while ago I had told someone I realized I had 3 robes. Who in their right mind needs 3 different robes? Apparently I did, and 2 of them were very similar. And and so I was grateful for my 3 robes, and then I was realizing I want to give this, at least I think I gave one of the I did give one, because one's winter, one's spring that I kept. But
Mhm.
that I could be grateful for what I have and recognize the abundance in what I do have, and what God has given us, like for me, because I am a spiritual person and I do believe in God, whatever God means to you, because I don't think that anyone gets to claim the word God. There are many different definitions of what that looks like. But we are almost up on time, and I think we wanted to leave a blessing today. I want you all to know that in this time of gratitude, even if things aren't going well, and I'll just yeah, that I bless you and I praise you and I unconditionally love you just the way you are, in all of your magnificence. And I may not know you, and I still know you're a magnificent person and that you deserve love. And so I just want to leave that with you. Kat, did you have any last words?
As do I. and I have 3 robes, but I did give one away. You're not the only one.
Oh, that's so funny.
On that
Anyhow,
note, yeah, happy Thanksgiving to all our friends in the United States who will be celebrating, and the spirit of Thanksgiving for anyone else around the world. We appreciate you and we love you.
we'll see you next week.